seaboard. And then the Atlantic coastline, which is still there, which comes across over there. As it comes down East Fort Myers. And it come down there because there's a lot of orange packing houses and everything in East Fort Myers too. Yeah, and they used to come down there. So if you go past the railroad tracks on Palm Beach Boulevard, if you go up a little bit to the left, there was a bunch of packing houses and all.
No kidding.
That's what Riley Brothers was, right?
Yeah, Riley Brothers was, I think it was a depot for Seaboard.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Riley Brothers was the depot for Seaboard?
for Seaboard, yeah. And then it went on down, but then the Atlantic coast, the Atlantic, it come around and come into town here. But then it ended up going down, and then once it got down to Gladiolus Drive, there was a Y. It split off and went into the rock pits where the Lakes Park
Right,
is.
right, 'cause they were
Went all the
mining,
way
they
down
were
there.
mining out of
Okay.
Little Lakes Park, the road fill.
And then it went through there, and then it hit Bigger's packing house and everything.
Yes,
right
yes.
on the corner of Summerlin Road and Gladiolus.
Wow.
And then
I didn't know.
there was like two more warehouses on the south side of Gladiolus at the railroad track. And then it kept going down. Actually, I think Summerlin Road is the right of way of the railroad track.
I'm pretty
whenever
sure
they
if you're
built it.
driving on Summerlin and you're headed to the beach, you look to the
Right,
left
right.
and there's power lines.
Right,
I
right.
believe that's where the track was.
Well, the track was, actually the track come across Gladiolus where Summerlin Road is.
Yes.
And it went down to where the park is and everything, the
Right.
hospital. So it
Right.
followed
And
Summerlin
then-
to there,
and
and then it kind of bared out over to
Pine Ridge Road.
Pine Ridge Road.
Yep.
And then when it went down Pine Ridge Road towards San Carlos Road, there was like four big, huge warehouses on the south side
Okay.
that it got produce from. Well, actually, I don't know if they were
That's where Bob and Tom's swap shop.
swap shop and
Yes,
everything
yes.
was. Yeah, Bob swap.
Pelton, Bob Pelton.
Yeah, Bob Pelton, he was in the tarpon club, and my dad used to go, we used to hang out down there all the time, so Bob used to do little tricks, like he blew money to the coins to the floor and all that
You know
stuff,
where Jerry lives?
and he'd have a
It's
little
very
button
close.
that you pushed,
It's
and
kinda close to
you were
Clifford,
curious of what it would do when you pushed it.
The
It had
end
like a
of,
pin in the bottom, and it,
Jerry
you
lives
know,
almost to Billy's
he
Creek.
pulled all kind of tricks.
Oh,
But
that's
we
funny.
loved that. He had
Unless
all
she
kind of junk there.
moved.
But it went across San
How
Carlos,
long's she been there?
and I
Because I
don't know
remember when
if
she
they
lived closer to
originally
Clifford
was
at the
thinking
condos
about
at the
running
end
the
of
railroad track to
Clifford,
Ponderosa.
or is it? It's
But
not
it
Euclid.
run all the way
done that
until
Jerry
McGregor,
Yeah.
right there where they had,
Davis
Close to where
Road is.
Pinchers is.
close to Davis Road, right behind where the
The Sanibel factory shops
factory
are.
shops are, right?
Okay.
Because when I was growing up, I could see a little mound there that there was a house built on, so I think that was the end, as far as it went, was right there.
Right there.
And then I got into it a little bit on there about people wanting to know what truck land was.
Oh, I've read about
In
truck
fact,
land.
that's when
And
Wes went out.
I'm thinking,
Everyone
because when
went
I
over
grew
to
up
Rest
on John
and
Morris
dug
Road, they
out
painted
shoes
truck land
and
on there.
bottles.
And I'm thinking
Hey,
it's
Larry.
either
Hey.
because
I
of the
haven't said hi to you
railroad
yet.
Huh?
or,
I haven't
Truck
said
land.
hi
I
to
remember,
you
Or
yet.
I
something
remember
else.
in my brain from memory of listening to people
Oh, I didn't
debate
know where you
about
wanted to
it.
put
It was
that.
there
You
at John
wanted
Morris
to
Right,
Road
right, right.
at the intersection.
uh-huh,
I
but
think so, don't you?
if you go back up to where the
great idea.
Bigger's
I mean,
packing
it
house
shouldn't-
and all the
it shouldn't
things,
be out.
they
We'll tuck it
named
away
that
and then
area
we'll never see
Bigger
it again.
because that's where Tom Bigger and did all the farming. and
Right,
everything. So
right.
they named that area Bigger. And I don't know if it was named Bigger because
That
of the
really didn't
railroad,
take much.
you know,
And you know what?
named it that, or
I start. She asked
just-
me about that goat.
they put it on a map or something.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
it's
that's-
bigger
I
and
go,
bigger
I
on
remember
some
the
maps.
fiasco with
Bigger
that
and
goat.
bigger.
I put an ad
Yeah,
and
because
said
it was
free
Tom
to a
Bigger
good
was the only
family,
one,
because it
but
was a
then his
bottle
son
baby. I
Sandy
didn't
and
want someone
Malcolm
eating it.
they were
And
farming
I
out
think I
there
told the
too. So
first
Right.
guy
that
and
was
his
the two
wife
Yeah,
boys.
just some on
drove up
some
and I said,
on
"What?"
some of
They
the
said, "Oh,
older
we got a
maps.
daughter.
That's
We
sometimes
want the
that's
goat
all
for
you'll
the
see
daughter."
is like
First family drove
Fort
up,
Myers
they
and
did-
two other
I said, "Where's the
landmarks
first
and
one?"
bigger and
Right,
bigger.
right.
You know, it's like
Oh, she's so
So that's
pretty.
what I
We
know
wanna
about
get out. And
the tracks
See ya.
down. You
And
know.
was that just
You don't have a
freight?
daughter.
Was that
And
one
if
just
she
freight?
was, she
It
was
was
her
because
husband
see, this
sleeping.
was
So I said,
agriculture
"No,
and
sorry."
fishing. So
And then the next
they,
family that came,
most all
actually
the
did have a little
agriculture,
girl
vegetables and
in the
everything,
van,
or
and
oranges
she
and all
had a-
that stuff that was going
the
in,
guy
was
told me,
shipped out.
believe it or not, this
on-
is
on
second
rail.
As well
bottle
as,
getting in. I was
I
like,
believe
there
Page
it is.
Field was a
Take the
packing house
goats,
for
you
like,
know.
crabs.
Much
Well,
better
they
to
did that
be than
because
have
my
someone
dad,
buy it to
my
eat
dad
it,
used
you
to
know?
take all their
Or a canning
gladiolas.
house.
But as soon
They
as she
used to
left,
take
I was
all their
like,
gladiolas to
I told
Page
Beverly
Field
the
because
wrong
they
thing.
was
I
a
remember what
packing
happened to
house
that
there
goat.
that packed up their
Right.
gladiolas for them.
Someone had told me they canned crabs somewhere.
Well, they could have, yeah, very
And then
well
down
could
off the
have.
seaboard
told
too.
Debbie what
A
Yeah.
friend of mine
happened.
said she worked at a canning facility right
Right.
off of Seaboard,
Our
somewhere
our
down
poor
there. they were
donkey
canning.
is so
Yeah.
lonely.
Very
I don't
well.
know what they were canning.
Very-
It's seafood,
Any
oysters.
kind of sea, because when I was growing up, I
No,
mean,
we
it,
still have
it,
so much
it was
work to do
still,
out there.
you either was in the fishing industry or you was in the agriculture industry, and they,
Put a piece of white paper
there
down
wasn't
in
a
it or
whole lot
something.
more.
That's
When
than
did the railroad come here? 1904? Is that correct?
I don't know the date when it really come here.
That sounds about right.
What came
But
first, the ACL or the Seaboard?
I don't really know. It was coastline.
One of them
Atlantic or
bought out
Seaboard.
the other. I think ACL came first.
I'm saying
And then
that
didn't they buy out SCL?
I
they
don't
may
know.
have later on. I'm not really sure, but I know there was like 2 tracks, bridges across the river. The one come in out there in East Fort Myers, right there where like you said, where Riley Grove was.
Right.
And then the Atlantic coastline comes throughout and. Oh, here's a book on railroads.
I also know, do you know where the Pleasure Pier was? It was my understanding the railroad tracks paralleled and went all the way out near the Pleasure Pier, because they had to load it onto the boats. They had to load the
Oh,
product.
yeah,
I'm
because.
talking way back.
Yeah,
like
because
20s.
because the tracks used to come down to where they end up right there, at the museum, and then it went down Monroe
ACL was
Street.
1904.
It went down Monroe
Well,
Street.
went down, all the way down Monroe Street because they had the railroad had a office there, and they had a bunch of places that, like you said, went all the way out to the river.
Right, so they could
Hey,
load onto the
Joanne.
vessels
Right,
for
right.
shipment.
Well, you know where the bridge goes across right now, it's
1927?
exactly where
Which bridge?
Pleasure Pier was.
Yeah, you're right, Nancy.
Yeah.
ACL was
Under
1904.
Centennial Park.
Yeah, okay. And now, if you really want
Who's
to.
researching railroads? Are you?
Yeah.
Okay, I've got some stuff at home, I don't know where it's at, but I was researching the Slater mill out there, the Slater sawmill.
There's the Seaboard.
You know
mine,
Rayanne Wessel, part of
1911.
oh, excuse me a second. You know Rayanne Wessel's property that you just sold? It's
Samville,
part of the-
Slater?
It's part of the Slater Mill.
Okay, they had a Slater.
And that's why I asked her when I went on that live auctions that one day and I saw that Frog Smith painting sold.
Right.
I emailed or called her and I said, Rayanne, did you buy this? Because it was the Samville. Slater
Did she
Frogs.
buy it?
No. She says, I wish.
What did it sell for?
Thousands.
You
tens
go
of
on her
thousands.
property and there is remnants of,
She said that. She
Yeah.
told me that.
yeah, but
I've
she
got
just sold it.
pictures.
She's in North
Yeah, I got
Carolina.
pictures of all that stuff, but I also had somewhere all the train tracks that come out of Slater and where they went and spurred off hauling lumber and everywhere.
Really?
Yeah, there was
You have a map, like a,
somewhere.
and he might be interested because he's doing research on the
Well,
railroad.
I can see what I can dig up on that, but that community was so big, they did not have money at the sawmill, they got paid in script.
Right. It was like a company town.
Whoever worked there, they got paid, and then they had their own stores, own grocery, everything, so
Overpriced.
everything was bought in the store, plus they had 2 communities, the blacks lived here, the whites lived here, so,
It's like thick.
it's just,
Yeah, but it needs to
Wow.
be thick.
it
enough
was,
to-
I've got a lot of
It's
that
just
stuff.
like every other company town.
Well, yeah, but like I said, they got coins, they had pictures and that, the coins and all that stuff that the employees got paid with.
Wow.
But that coin was only good at their stores that they had on
That's
the
incredible.
property.
That's wow.
So it was like one whole town out
Right.
there.
Well, like I said, you know what I learned? This is something
And it's not
you
what,
might
$4.99,
want. Well, I have for years. I had always asked myself and looked on maps. Did the flexible gunnery school? You know about the Buckingham Flexible Gunnery School?
No, what was it?
Do we still have it?
How do we explain the flexible?
You know what Buckingham
so
is.
during
Yeah.
during the war, they created this. It's actually a community, the flexible gun.
You know where
School.
mosquito
Come in,
control
I didn't
is?
see you come in.
Homestead ordinance.
It was a gunnery, and the reason it was built in Buckingham is because it stayed warm all year long here, so they could train all year long.
Oh, that's where,
Without- yeah.
During the war, that's where they had.
Yeah, and then they
bases,
had
right?
And then
the guys were all learning how to use.
Yeah.
You know, these are 18-year-old kids, and then
Okay.
they had a rail where they'd have a moving target, and they'd
Okay.
walk
That's where they
on a
trained.
railroad track.
Yeah. Yeah,
So, and it was up on a berm. This is very cool. We just had a guy talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
2 months ago, and Steven did part of it. He did a program on it.
I got a
And
bunch of pictures on that thumb drive with Buckingham
yeah,
too.
and then this
so-
guy said, I'm here, I heard about this on Facebook, I'm the historian, and when Steven showed a picture
Maybe
of,
final resting
Here
place
we go.
wasn't that good.
there's
How
one
do
of
you
the
know?
fire
You
stations,
didn't
they had
know.
3 fire
I mean,
stations, this is how
how
big
do
they
you
were.
know?
They had a hospital, they had a church, they had their own, I mean, the place was huge, and they trained like 50,000 guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was all pretty intense training, and these guys were trained to use
Oh, I like
these,
that better.
sit in the, what is it called, the turret,
Yeah.
Like I
all
said,
18-year-old kids, you know.
like I say,
So
That's
that's
good,
right here in
Gene,
our
that color.
backyard.
That's a good
Anyway,
color.
I
and
just,
then,
That's a
and
good
then
color
if
for
you go
that.
where the Page Park over, you know where Page Field is?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was the Air Force base, and they had barracks and everything where they all lived, so that was just
my dad actually worked for the FAA, and I used to go hang out, FAA, Florida
Okay,
Federal
yeah.
Aviation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right.
And we used to go hang out, and where the FAA was the barracks. I'd been in some of those barracks. No windows. They had
And they're
no
still
windows
there.
on
A
them.
lot of the barracks are still there. They've turned them into apartments and
Yeah.
duplexes and
Oh,
whatnot.
really?
But getting back to what I was saying about the
Yeah, right.
Flexible Gunnery School, I always said to myself, there's how many people lived there? You know, 50,000 were trained.
Probably.
What was the population of the Flexible Gunnery School? Flexible Gunnery School was a population. I know they trained 50,000 guys. 6,000 people?
I think it was larger than that by the peak, but I don't remember.
Well, anyway, my big question was for several years, I would always try to figure out, you had to have a railroad coming out of Buckingham.
Yeah.
No
really.
one had ever told me that, and finally this guy who's been studying 25 years, he's like their historian.
Yeah.
He's like a volunteer historian. He's like, I'll show you exactly where the railroad was. And he goes, can you draw, you know, driving on Buckingham Road? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, well, there's this turn. I know right where the turn is. He goes, there's a berm there. He said, the tracks came like that. And they went right downtown.
I remember the
It
berm.
only
Okay.
made sense that they'd have this huge
I
town,
remember the
Buckingham.
berm. That's where they
Yeah.
put the hospital and everything for the handicapped people and all. Where that berm comes around that corner.
Yes, you're
and-
right.
and-
Yes.
And it went right through
Yes.
that area, yeah.
Yes, it's right in that area.
In that area,
So
right.
the reason why I couldn't find any history on it, like 2 years after the war, they dismantled it and they sold the rails.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, so they just broke it down.
Yeah, after-
Yeah,
after
that's
the-
why I
the end
couldn't
of the
find
war.
much information on
Yeah.
it. You know, it
At
just
the end
wasn't that well documented.
End of the war in 1945, they just dismantled everything and took everything.
Yeah. well,
You'll have to come to our downtown in October. We're having a guy.
I think his
to-
class will be. Are you want to continue doing research beyond your colloquium?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm
Do you?
interested in this stuff anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When's your colloquium? You're doing a summertime.
Yeah.
colloquium.
This is my last.
What's
This is my last.
Before you graduate?
Course. Yeah. I've already walked for graduation.
Oh, you have?
This is
Cool.
just this last week is my last
Cool.
official
Did you do
class.
Who would take you out to, you know, the one where you learn about Lee County, you learn about the
Did you go
infrastructure,
into
the
the
parks, the community?
Yeah, that's this one.
Oh, that's this one. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yes,
yeah,
but
so-
not the ones
and
with the.
I live in downtown
the
now,
haunch,
too.
not
Oh,
the-
cool.
Which,
I live
which
off Dean
Kelly's?
Street.
The one
Oh,
that
were you there
used to
last
grow
night?
potatoes in it.
No, I wasn't.
I was at the Collaboratory where they had, they
Someone
do it
came
once
in
every
that
3 months.
was
Uh-huh.
an ancestor,
what was that
descendant
called,
of the Kellys a
Yeah.
couple years
Thing we
ago.
went to last night.
This is,
It's called like,
this is 3 of them when they were in school in the 40s.
it's their quarterly
When they
market.
played on the
They had
football
like,
Look at the
um,
smiles, boy. It
vendors
seems like
out
they were
there.
happy.
Oh,
Beer.
cool. Yeah, yeah,
it was kind of cool. It's the
That's
same
awesome.
night
The
as
Kellys.
music night,
yeah.
Tom
Music,
and-
yeah, yeah.
Tom
which
and
yeah.
is
Ed.
just too much for me. I just,
And
Yeah,
then
Music
can't
Walk
handle
gets
it.
pretty.
the other one
It's
that got
pretty
killed
crazy.
in the,
I haven't I haven't. I just moved there, so like,
They-
I haven't stayed
potatoes
when
and everything out
Music
there.
Walk is
Kelly
happening. So
Road.
I'm like,
In Iona.
oh, it'll be
Where do
tough
you live
sleeping,
exactly?
but
In Bradford? Excuse
So
me.
the
It's
one, the
called
one
Dean.
boy,
It's
Oh.
above City
he
Tavern.
got killed.
Oh,
So like, you know,
yeah, I
there's the
know where that
Luminary
is.
City
It's a
Tavern.
Yeah.
I live
bridge
right above
on
City
Chris
Tavern.
Downtown is changing.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that's for
It
sure.
can get
one
loud
of his
down there
son,
during
Blaine Kelly, he used to deliver papers